These extremely important needs to be wanted, invited, liked, loved, and special are out of their control. And so what they're getting at is that the peer group will not be able to fulfill these needs for children. And so then children will end up kind of acting out in ways in which they're seeking this validation, they're seeking this attachment. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Scholastica Bookshelf, a series in which we explore books that have an impact on our understanding of education, parenting and homeschooling. Today we're diving into a book which has a special relevance for educators and especially for parents, which is called Hold On To Your Kids, Why Parents Need to Matter More Than Peers by Dr. Gordon Neufeld and Gabor Maté. This book provides a really eye-opening account of parent-child attachment in today's world, and I'll explore during this video how this is especially relevant to Muslim parents and educators. So before we dive into the book, let's talk about the authors. Dr. Gabor Maté is a renowned physician and psychologist who's become one of the leading voices in trauma and mental health. You might have come across some of his other books like The Myth of Normal and When the Body Says No. His insights into how our emotional lives affect our health and relationships have been groundbreaking. Dr. Gordon Neufeld, on the other hand, is a developmental psychologist with decades of experience working with children and families. His work focuses on attachment theory and how relationships shape a child's development. So the central premise of this book, the authors begin by explaining this core idea that children are wired to seek out attachment to their parents. This bond is not just about love and care. It's the foundation of a child's social and emotional development. When the parent-child attachment is strong, children feel secure, grounded, and confident. But when this bond weakens, children often turn to their peers for connection, which will lead to what the authors call peer orientation. Peer orientation is when children start relying on their peers for validation, guidance, and even their sense of identity, instead of looking to their parents. And this is where things can go wrong. The book explains that peer orientation can disrupt the natural order of relationships. Peers, while important, cannot provide the unconditional love, the wisdom, and the stability that parents can. Children who are peer-oriented, instead of having a secure attachment to their parents, will show up in ways of defiance, lacking emotional resilience, and also having very superficial moral values. We see this sort of peer orientation everywhere in today's world, from that kind of environment dominating school to social media. The fallout of this shift is an increase in stress, increases in behavioural issues, and a loss of family connections. Now, the reason this is on the Scholastica Bookshelf is because this idea, the premise of this book, is extremely important for homeschoolers. This is one of the central reasons why many people choose to homeschool their children. They want to avoid this sort of negative peer influence that the school environment can foster. However, even as homeschoolers, we're not immune. Peer orientation can happen in a wide variety of settings, whether that's through extracurricular activities, even through your children's extended relatives and friends, as well as online communities and some aspects of the homeschooling groups that we might be getting involved with. This is why even as homeschooling parents, we are not just automatically safe by the fact of homeschooling. We have to be intentional about fostering strong attachment bonds at home. So the authors point out several reasons why peer orientation has become so widespread in today's world. We have busy parental schedules, we have dual income households where both parents are working often full-time jobs, and a culture which emphasises independence far too early. The education system also plays a significant role by separating children out into peer groups by limited age for many hours each day. And then, of course, on top of all of this, there's technology and the proliferation of social media. And now with artificial intelligence, who knows where the new chapters of virtual reality will head. Children are now spending more and more time online with their peers than they are with their family. As Muslims, we already know the importance of family and relationships. The Quran and Sunnah talk so much about fostering ties of kinship, about strengthening those ties, about the importance of respect to parents and mercy to the youngers, about the role of the parents as the murabbis, the ones who are doing the tarbiyah, the raising of the children. We are responsible for building a home based on this sense of intimacy, of mercy and love and security. Even the word for a home, there are many different words used. The word for bait, a house, is a place in which one spends the night, but often the word for home is called the maskan, the place of sukoon, the place of tranquility and peace. And yet many of us are still allowing this peer influence to take a huge role in our children's lives. So this book is a very stark reminder that, you know, even despite the protections that homeschooling or a religious upbringing might have, we still have to take very proactive steps to foster an environment of secure attachment for our children at home. In the book, it gives so many examples of children who either Dr. Neufeld or Dr. Maté have seen, you know, parents who are at their wits' end. You know, my child is just defiant, they are apathetic, we do all this effort for them and they just throw it back in our face, or they are just lazy and they're not engaged, or they are addicted to video gaming. What is going on? And there are some especially useful sections in here which talk about practical ways in which this peer influence and this peer orientation comes about, and for example the rise in technology and what video games can do and why children seek out these sorts of validation from their peers. There's an interesting section here which also talks about how peer orientation ends up leading to forms of aggression in children. When we feel frustrated, our first inclination is to change whatever isn't working for us. The problem is that life brings many frustrations that are beyond us. We cannot alter time or change the past or undo what we have done. We cannot avoid death, make good experiences last, cheat on reality, make something work that won't, or induce someone to cooperate with us when they may not feel like it. Of all these unavoidable frustrations, the most threatening for children is that they cannot make themselves psychologically and emotionally secure. These extremely important needs to be wanted, invited, liked, loved and special are out of their control. What they're getting at is that the peer group will not be able to fulfill these needs for children, and so then children will end up kind of acting out in ways in which they're seeking this validation, they're seeking this attachment, but despite not getting it, they will continue to seek. So there will be girls who will, you know, make a wanton display of themselves in search for that validation. There will be boys who will start looking to drugs as a way to fulfill a sense of wanting to feel connected to some bigger meaning beyond themselves that they are just not getting from their family environment. So what is the solution? The solution, in a nutshell, is to regain parental influence. The authors suggest reclaiming our children by becoming their primary source of attachment and guidance. So here are a few practical steps that the authors then recommend. One is to foster connection. We need to spend meaningful time with our children. Try to focus on shared family meals, joint activities, and even for each parent to have one-on-one time with each child to strengthen those relationships. Number two is to invite dependence. Yes, dependence, not independence, right? We should invite dependence. We should encourage our child to come to us to seek support, to seek advice and guidance. We should be a source for problem solving for our children. This is not about them becoming clingy, but rather having a helpful approach to mentorship and to support from their parental figures. We want to ensure that our children see us as their safe space. Number three is to limit peer influence. Be very mindful about how much time your children spend in peer-dominated environments, whether that's in person or online. Homeschooling definitely gives us the flexibility to choose these environments and to ensure that they align with our values. Number four is to model behavior. Monkey see, monkey do. Children will mirror what they see from their parents. If they see us prioritizing family, if they see us prioritizing faith, mental health, seeking out advice and companionship with our family, then they will do likewise. There are many other practical examples and great ways to kind of foster that relationship with your children, and the book also has a really nifty glossary towards the back, which has lots of interesting psychological terms that are used throughout the book, and it's a great introduction for those who are new to this field, who are worried about the changes in society, these changing trends, how mental health has become kind of the buzzword in the modern day, but we're not really sure how to go about understanding it. This book is a fantastic introduction to this sort of area for parents. This book also helps to redefine what we understand by discipline. The book advocates for a form of discipline which actually strengthens attachment and strengthens the parent-child bond rather than damaging it. And despite what a lot of Muslim families might be familiar with from imported cultures, where maybe the jabbal was the way of disciplining, actually an Islamic model of discipline is very in line with this. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was very well known to be extremely merciful to the young people. He would avoid scolding directly. He would often use indirect ways of correcting people. Parenting in an authoritative way through love and connection and that form of discipline rather than through fear and force is actually a return for us to the Sunnah. Thinking about the bigger picture of parenting in the modern world, this book also invites us to consider the kind of adults that we want our children to become. As well as raising our children to be quote-unquote successful in life, we also want to raise children who are emotionally stable and mature, socially responsible, and spiritually grounded human beings. For Muslims, this means raising children who are strongly rooted in their faith, who embody good character, and who understand their ultimate purpose in life. Hold On to Your Kids is a must-read for any parent, especially for homeschooling parents. It challenges us to actively reflect on our relationships with our children and lots of practical advice to strengthen those connections. For Muslims, it's a reminder to center our homes on the values of attachment and sometimes to shed certain cultural adhesions to our parenting styles which may actually be harming our children and making them more vulnerable to this ambient culture of this social media frenzy and the technological advances which are really pushing this peer orientation onto our children. The book offers a lot of wisdom and very actionable steps for us in order to protect our children and to foster these sorts of values in our homes. If you've read this book, please let me know your thoughts in the comments. Is there anything I missed? How do you like to strengthen your connections with your children while navigating these issues in the modern world? Don't forget to like and subscribe, and please share this video with others if you found it helpful. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Scholastica Bookshelf, in which we'll be exploring another impactful book, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair for watching, and we'll see you next time.